Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Markdown Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Asante and Danny Hernandez, recapping the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. And there's only really one thing we need to talk about: blood and guts. This was awesome. I do believe this was now only the second blood and guts match in AEW history. Obviously, the Jericho Appreciation Society meeting up with the Blackpool Combat Club and friends, I guess. They're not technically in it. But this was awesome. It was a fucking hour long, and I was entertained for every second of it. Some quick highlights, I guess. I could recap the whole match, but we'll probably also be here an hour for me doing it. The Jericho Appreciation Society came out looking like the world's worst boy band. Like red fishnet shirts, red leather pants, red leather shoes, red fedoras, red suspenders. They looked ridiculous. Mox was all fired up. Eddie and Claudio seemingly made peace with each other before the match. Claudio and Sammy started. I won't go through everything, but some important things to note. Garcia was the first person to bleed, so if you bet that on DraftKings tonight, good job.
That's awful. Oh no.
That was a prop, according to Excalibur. Excalibur said it was a prop. Unfortunately, Santana, when he joined the match, he unfortunately knocked himself out of it very quickly. When he hit an Uranagi, it appears he had hurt his leg in a very serious way. He pretty much just rolled over onto the apron near the door and laid there for the rest of the match. I don't know what he did. It looks bad. It could have been anything from his knee to his Achilles, but whatever it was, he was completely incapacitated, and that just sucked. The match still was very good despite that, but I feel really bad for Santana. He's a great dude, and that just is awful. So one of the funnier things I thought happened in this match was when Eddie joined the match, he brought in some rubbing alcohol, and somehow he inexplicably dropped it to the apron, and it somehow got out of the cage, and then Ty had to push it back through the cage to Jericho, and it was just bursting at the seams, going everywhere. Regal tried to cover for it. He was like, look at this evil woman bringing this dastardly weapon into the match when Eddie's the one who brought it in.
Made even better by the fact that he talked about knowing what was in that container, how he was part of the meeting introducing that container way before the match. Regal is a gem.
It really was. So eventually Ty on the other side was able to steal the key to the cage from the ref, and she opened the cage, and Ruby Soho, who they had positioned as Eddie's friend during the pre-match video package, came down to just kick the shit out of Ty and take her out of it. But that opened up Jericho to climb the cage, followed by Eddie. They tussled, and then Sammy comes up and saves Eddie, saves Jericho, but then Eddie hits him with a low blow, throws him from the top of the cage into the timekeeper's table, which was fairly obviously set up with an airbag, but it was still really cool. Who cares?
It was leaps and bounds better than Jericho's fall during the first Blood and Guts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was very obviously wood painted to look like steel grating. This was a table. Like, Sammy took a legitimate table spot. It was a lot like the one from the Stadium Stampede match when Omega put him through whatever that huge wooden thing was. Like, it was clearly constructed just for the spot, but it was still a very cool spot.
I didn't notice the timekeepers area throughout the match, but when I saw them about to do that spot, I was like, how are they sitting at this table? They had to have been standing to even use the table. Like, it was huge. It was way bigger than the normal table they have there. It was an extra couple feet off the ground there.
That's what we call dedication to the craft.
Yeah. Somebody noticed it on Reddit, and they were like, spoiler, like, there's a huge thing here. Somebody's going through it. And guess what? They were right. Eventually, Jericho had the walls in on Eddie on top of the cage, but Claudio climbed up, saved Eddie, and then started swinging Jericho. Daddy Magic, Matt Menard comes up. He prevents Claudio from locking in the sharpshooter. Eventually, Eddie gets Jericho in the stretch palm. Claudio gets Menard in the sharpshooter, and Menard ends up tapping out. BCC wins. Eddie's a little pissed off because he thinks Claudio stole his moment by getting Menard tap out before Jericho did, but he still ended up fist bumping him. The rest of the BCC, obviously minus Santana, climbed the cage to celebrate. At one point, Eddie told Claudio, and I read his lips, he goes, "I hurt my back. I can't get up. I'm okay, though." But eventually, Ortiz and Claudio help him up, and Eddie raised Claudio's hand. So, Danny, I'll start with you. You could talk about anything from this match, but what'd you think of this absolute clusterfuck that was Blood and Guts?
Oh boy, I genuinely don't know where to start. Shout out to Matt Bernard. Holy shit, did he take all the worst spots in this match? I don't think he did anything on offense. I think he only took bumps, and they were all crazy. So he was that guy in this match, and oh boy, he will be an unsung hero because he didn't take the crazy fall like Sammy, and he didn't have the shine in offense like everyone else, and he didn't blow, his leg out like Santana. So no one's going to talk about him. So I'm talking about him now. Also, Eddie, for a guy that hated Claudio so much before he got to the company, pretty friendly with him, there was no real animosity there. They fist bumped pretty quickly.
The enemy of my enemy.
Right. They were hyping it up so much. And as an indie fan, I've known about this hatred for years. And man, nothing. And Danny, I really don't want to step on you. I know this is your thing, but I'm going to be really annoyed if now Claudio and Eddie start feuding next week and the basis for it is that Claudio got the win instead of him. I need reasons to like Eddie. I don't need reasons to think he's a little baby back bitch.
Yep. Little baby back because he hurt his back and he couldn't get up. Wow.
You get me in a way few do.
I hope he's okay because I don't know how the fuck they're gonna get him down if he's actually hurt and can't climb. Well, they have to go get a scissor lift or something probably.
I'm sure they have something in place for this type of scenario, but and Claudio was so quick to help him up, so they got along. They're friends. But oh man, Claudio, I'm so glad they gave him the win. And even though they'll probably do what we just complained about and they'll ignore that they got along at the end and start tension between them, it felt great because it felt like it was so much about him. It was about Eddie, it was about Claudio, and everyone else. The interim world champion was a bit player in this, which isn't a bad thing in this context at all. Like, it's actually really, he feels like so much more of a big deal. The fact that he started this match, what was the plan before this? I'm sure it would have been Brian starting, but holy shit. And he looked like such a star. The way he was swatting away Sammy, the way he was no-selling Sammy's weak offense in the beginning. Oh my God, this is a different guy. He is on a whole nother level right now, and I'm all for it. I am here for Claudio. Cesaro is dead. Get over it, JR. I understand. We'll probably all make that mistake, so I won't even give you a hard time about it.
Unofficial 3 Cesaro accounts according to Reddit from JR.
That's honestly not bad. He would never have known him as Claudio, ever. It's not like some of the, he should know Trent as just Trent and not as Beretta by now. He's seen him in both. Of course it's impressive that it's only 3, actually. I'll take that. But Claudio looked amazing. He feels like such a big deal. Remember when he first left and we're all like, yeah, it'd be cool to see him in AEW, but I don't need it. I don't see him reaching a certain level. I take back all of that shit. I see him reaching insane levels. This is great. Fuck Wardlow. Fuck Scorpio Sky. Give this guy the TNT title. And then let him feud with Miro. I don't care. This is great.
Give him the All Atlantic title if you want.
I agree.
That title, that's not real. That doesn't exist. Was that title on this show? No, of course it wasn't.
Well, there wasn't much else on the show other than Blood and Guts. So at least we had a championship match, which we'll get to later. Yeah, in regards to Mox, though, when he came in, he completely shifted the momentum of that match towards the Blackpool Combat Club. And I know, obviously, each time a guy comes in, it usually does, but he did to the point where Parker came in and Moxley was so good that it was 4-on-3 and they were still had the advantage because everyone else was down and Parker came in. They couldn't get the advantage for like another few minutes.
And
like
that was great.
Yeah. And honestly, what ended up taking Moxley out was he had dumped a bunch of thumbtacks on the floor along with Wheeler. But then he had, I think, Menard. Yeah, I mean, he had Menard in a chokehold and Jericho hit him with the rubbing alcohol. This was during the picture-in-picture commercial break, so I don't blame anybody for missing it. He had hit him with the rubbing alcohol, and he had the cut on his head, so obviously that sucked. And then he got hit with a Judas effect, and then he got put in the walls on the thumbtacks. So, like, they did everything they could to take Moxley out of this match in the, like, you know, making him look as strong as possible. Which I thought makes sense.
No, it did. Most of this match made sense. And again, this is with someone getting injured right away. And who knows how many spots they had to cut out. And they still hit time. So, and obviously some of these things just slowed down. You could tell at a couple points in the match where things slowed down. As you should. You shouldn't be doing crazy spots while the camera's on someone else, you know? Which, hey, camera work was, I would say, like 90% good. But did Aubrey not take her first bump in like AEW and the camera did not catch it? Like Ty hitting her head against the cage?
See,
is that how Ty got the key?
I knew Ty dropped a referee for it. I don't know why I assumed it was a male referee though. That was the thing.
Yeah, I thought Aubrey was on the JAS side and Ty took the key from the other side. But I could be wrong.
I don't know. I feel like it was Aubrey, but because I didn't see her after that.
It would have been funny if it was Remsburg or somebody.
Yeah. It's still the fact that we don't know because the camera didn't catch it, you know, but it was still like, it's a hard match to film. So, you know, we'll say like they were 90% effective here. This was just chaotic. It was fun. Everyone looked good. Oh my God. The fact, see, if you want to, you know, if you want to give shit to the easy criticism of ex-WWE guys, sure, whatever. Have your fun doing that. But you know what? If Jack Swagger and Cesaro had a stare-off in the Royal Rumble, no one in the crowd would react. And this shit got one of the loudest pops of the night. That's the loudest pop Hager's ever going to get in this company. That's it. It was peak. We have a people chance, and it's not in a demeaning way. Like, it's fucking...
It's the first time they've had them since Jericho shut it down on, like, the second episode of Dynamite.
Yeah. And rightfully so, because...
Yeah, I mean, it made sense here.
Yeah.
It made sense here, you know?
It's literally like hey, we remember, and we're giving you the pop for this. So that wouldn't happen in the crowd where they were a team. It wouldn't happen. But that's also because Cesaro's a tag team slut and had like 18 different partners. But, you know, everything about this is great. I'm sure we've missed some stuff, but James, I don't want to take. I want to give you some shine here.
Oh boy, way better than the first one.
Oh my God,
as a whole,
absolutely.
Let's just get that out of the way.
Camera work was better too.
Camera work was better. Action was better. I don't want to say it told a better story because it did tell a great story in the first one with MJF and Jericho, but great story here. And everybody got to shine in their own way. The other 2.0 guy that isn't Matt.
Angelo Parker.
Angelo Parker being hung upside down.
Yeah.
How the fuck did he get there?
I don't know. I honestly...
Like, I was so, because the cage hadn't been open yet. No one had climbed it, or at least not to my knowledge. And all of a sudden, it wasn't even like he was at the top. He's 3/4 of the way down.
I think he got shoved through it. Like, you know,
really?
where there's like that pillar there. I think he got shoved through it and then hung upside down.
Yeah, in the truss. I guess he got shoved through.
That
I completely missed how it happened. It was so fucking funny.
That was some Raven crucifying Sandman bullshit, and I loved it. It was crazy. I love that. I got to give it to Sammy in this match. He really did deliver. You know, he delivered a lot of the high spots. I loved when it was just him and Claudio, and he's literally bouncing around the ring trying to avoid Claudio. That was such a fun spot that you could only really do in a two-sided ring. And Sammy was really inventive with that. And it showed how it really made Claudio feel like a scary dude.
And it was nice. One, it was nice redemption from Sammy because he kind of botched the very first spot of the first one, trying to jump off the ropes.
Yeah.
But also, I like the consistency that even though he was heel this time, he started both blood and guts. He was the first person in both.
I did love that. I did love that. I, of course, did love the We the People moment, and I'm glad they got it out of the way. You know, I don't need them to have a one-on-one match next week on Dynamite or on Rampage at some point. They had the moment. Let's move past it. That was just a nice little revisiting of history, and now we're gone. Wow. I loved so much about this. Again, Parker took a lot. Like, he took that pile driver onto the glass.
Yep.
That was like, the man was a bloody mess. Matt Maynard, dude, took fucking bamboo sticks into a bloody cut. That is literally what they do to torture prisoners of war. That was crazy. That was crazy.
That they put it under the fingernails.
Ow. And moving on. It was a very, I don't think it got enough camera time, but I loved Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta just slapping the shit out of each other from both sides of from like the opposite ring.
Yeah, they almost missed that, but I'm glad they caught it.
I'm glad they caught it. I wanted, like, Yuta, it was very easy for Yuta to be forgotten about in this feud, but he did enough that I was really happy that he was a part of it. Garcia, like, I've noticed this over time, but I'm noticing it even more. Whenever he does that, like, really angry screaming he does right before he's about to hit somebody, I've realized he looks like a really angry baby. Like, his cheeks get all red, his eyes shut, and it's like he's either constipated or he's colicky. And either way, I don't know if it's working for him, but it's memorable. And him having, who had that beautiful, like, Claudio shoved somebody in the air and hit the biggest flying European uppercut. I think it was on Garcia.
That was on
Garcia. Hit one on him.
Yeah, Garcia hit it on him, and he did the screaming thing you just mentioned, and Claudio got right back up, did it back to him, and just fucking annihilated him.
I love that bit. I loved all of it. I'm really glad we didn't get a fireball in this match.
Yeah, I thought that was coming with the alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we didn't get a fireball. Nick, I got to correct you a little bit. They didn't just position Ruby to be Eddie and Moxley's friend here.
Oh, yeah.
Ruby has consistently come out for any time Eddie's gotten into a fight. She's always the one to either calm him down or pull him back or something.
Yeah, I didn't mean to
mean that. When all the refs can't hold him back, she's the one by herself being like, Eddie, come on. I'm just holding him back.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, like, downplay that or anything. I'm just saying it was I was really excited that she was in the promo package just to begin with. I mean, before the match, I was like, oh shit, like, they're actually acknowledging that they're friends. And then that obviously just served as a reminder to be like, hey, remember they're friends, right? So then her coming down and just kicking the shit out of Ty. It was very well played. I enjoy their on-screen friendship. It's one of the nice little subtle things about AEW.
And as someone who is not thrilled with how Ty has been portrayed ever since she and Sammy became a couple, I'm very excited at the aspect of her having a match with Ruby, especially because I believe they were in NXT around the same time. So to see where they were to where they are now, I think that'll be a fun future matchup if we get it. And
I'm here for it. It gives us another women's feud besides the two title ones.
Thank you. And how weirdly perfect would it fit if Ruby joined the Blackpool Combat Club? I know that we've all been, like, waving the Jamie Hayter flag, but it does feel like she fits there. But as I'm saying it, I realize she was probably there more for Eddie, who is not a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, and he's part of whatever little group he's in with Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah, but you gotta figure she's also probably friends with Moxley and Brian and Claudio. So
I'm sure, but like
but yeah, she would fit their group a little better, I think. Yeah.
And one, let's go back to the fact that we talked about how Moxley was almost a non-figure at least in the finish of the match. This was all Claudio, all Eddie. But the truth is, this was a feud that started between Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. And then the Blackpool Combat Club came into it. This was technically 3 factions at war. I mean, 2 versus 1, but still it was 3 factions. So I'm glad that there was that little bit of both groups getting representation in the finish. It could have easily just been Blackpool Combat Club because let's be realistic. We all love Santana and Ortiz and they're really over. Eddie is obviously super over, but I don't think there's a hotter act right now in AEW than the BCC, but they didn't just give it to them. Eddie could have easily made Jericho tap out in another few seconds. So I love the finish of this. I loved the action and I loved the storytelling. And man, they did deliver on the blood. Not enough on the guts, though. I don't know how they could. Maybe more stomach stuff. Maybe just some stuff spilling out. But
if we see actual guts, we might have a problem.
I'm not a censor. I don't work for TBS.
Not a censorship problem. Hey, we got to get this guy to the hospital ASAP problem. Or the local medical facility ASAP problem.
Is it weird that I feel if anyone in that match could survive it, it's either Moxley or Claudio?
Definitely Moxley.
Definitely Claudio, bro. The guy sleeps on the floor. Are you kidding me? Me and you should do that, James. We could fix our shoulders, maybe.
No, it doesn't work. Trust me.
It's just gonna hurt my back more.
Yeah,
I know me. I'm sure it'll work for some people. I know me.
You just shift the pain from one place to the other, and then once the one thing heals up, the other things start turning again.
And we're back. Ow.
I have 0 complaints about this match. Honestly, the only complaint I have about this match is I haven't seen a Blood and Guts live yet because COVID fucked us.
I've actually got one complaint, and it's that Bryan Danielson wasn't in it.
All right, fair. Yeah. But all things considered, I think Claudio was a absolutely perfect replacement, not just for this, but for the whole weekend. And honestly, James, you're right. The Blackpool Combat Club is the most over act in at least AEW right now, perhaps even all of wrestling, because Moxley's over as fuck in interim champ. Bryan is over as fuck because he always will be. Claudio, Claudio is over as fuck because now he's in AEW and he's shiny and new and everybody loves him and we want to see what he's going to be able to do. And Wheeler's probably the most over young guy that they have.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Because of Blackpool Combat Club.
I think he's
partially, but yeah.
I think there's a wave 1 of new guys or young guys, and then a wave 2 of young guys, and he's definitely part of wave 2.
Yeah.
Wave 1 is Darby Allin, the 4 pillars. Yeah. And wave 2 is Garcia, Yuta. I'm sure there are others. Ricky, yeah, definitely.
Ricky Starks.
Definitely. Which feels like an injustice because he was there just as long as the Wave 1 guys. But I don't think he really peaked until Wave 2.
Well, I think that the neck injury had something to do with that.
The open challenge for the TNT title. He was in between the 2 waves, really.
That's fair. That's fair. And the injury is another good point, too.
Yeah. But he is the king of Rampage, so he's doing a great job over there. But I don't know, man. This was awesome. I can't say enough good things about this. I'm still laughing at Angelo Parker. Just everything he did, from joining the match and running around trying to avoid everybody to hanging upside down off the truss. He was so good in this. He was completely bloody. He hit Wheeler with the camera. He took it from the camera guy, bounced his head off of it.
He didn't even take it. He brought the camera guy with him. The camera never dropped. The camera stood up.
All right, he brought the camera guy with him and bounced Wheeler's head off of it.
I would have loved if it was the is it Claudio camera guy. Let him get involved in the match after weeks of build-up.
This was perfect. Like I said, I don't think there was nary a wasted second in this. Regal was great on commentary for it. They brought out JR, which he was good. Do we think they're phasing JR out a bit?
Yes.
I say this without any malice. I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
It kind of seems like it's time, right? Because I always thought that was the plan initially. And then...
I know he just signed a new contract. I know that. But I'd rather him be a special appearance guy or a backstage guy.
Yeah, like he's so good still in those like pre-tape interviews.
I agree.
I hope they continue to use him on that. I do hope they continue to use him for big matches. But I was enjoying the Excalibur, Shivani, Taz lineup until they brought JR out. We said on Sunday, James, we were enjoying the Excalibur, Taz, and Kevin Kelly lineup, which I mean, you want to bring Kevin Kelly over for a little while. I'm totally here for that too. But I'm good with those two guys in Shivani, and let them be the crew if JR wants to maybe lessen his travel schedule, or they just kind of want to phase him out of commentating.
I'm going to throw an unpopular opinion. I liked Taz when he was an announcer or a commentator back on SmackDown years ago.
Oh, he was funny as hell on SmackDown.
And I think he's only gotten better. I think back then he was like the funny color guy. Now he's the color guy who actually has a lot more insight, and he's matured behind the desk. And when you have someone like Excalibur and Shivani to balance him out, I think he's perfect. I think he's great, and I think he's the right heel announcer.
Yeah, I agree.
He also, I think, even back on SmackDown, like he had the knowledge, but they wanted him to be a little more funny. Now, like you said, he's got a good balance.
It's just a style of WWE versus.
Yeah, no, of course. And I'm not saying he wasn't knowledgeable back then. He had already been retired at that point. I just think it's a very different job to be behind a desk and then to be able to talk about wrestling. And he was the funny guy who was trading back and forth with Cole, as opposed to now. I think he's just legitimately good at what he's doing. Like, he's good at this job, not just being a wrestler behind the desk.
Yeah. Because I think you're right. Like, he's calling stuff better, and I think the freedom that they allow him to actually say the names of moves and explain why things are working is very beneficial to him. Like, when even they were doing kind of like the ESPN Focus thing there for a while, where he was breaking down people's moves, and I thought that was really cool as well. Now, granted, you want to go see him be funny, go watch Dark with him and Excalibur.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole different animal. That's like NXT season 6 when no one was watching and they just decided to have fun.
John, my Diet Coke. No, yeah, that is just Excalibur and Taz do stand up around wrestling for an hour.
Exactly.
And it is great. Shout out Matthew on Botchamania, just insipid Taz commentary every month. Shit is beautiful.
So, favorite spot of Blood and Guts, everybody.
Ooh.
Favorite spot.
You have to give me a minute. Do you have one? So fill time while we think.
I don't know if it was my favorite, but I could definitively say I would have said no to Claudio doing the giant swing on top of the cage. I would have pissed myself, and God bless Jericho for having that much trust in Claudio.
I mean, Jericho, to give Jericho props, he is always down to take the big spot. Like, he's almost like, he wouldn't ask, like, Sammy took the spot. We've completely glossed over this because he took it perfectly. Sammy took this fall perfectly.
Yes,
right after he got punched in the dick, I might add.
that helps when you just focus on that, I guess.
And most viciously, he got a middle finger from Eddie before he did it.
Yeah, like, that was a bit much. Like, you at least wait till he's unconscious. But Jericho took it last year. He took the bump off the kid last year when he, in like 2016, 17, whatever, he jumped off the top of a cage facing Bray Wyatt with only one guy to catch him at his age. Like, Jericho was still down to do it. It's almost like how people give Vince props. They're like, oh, he wouldn't ask you to do something he wouldn't do himself. And then he did that fall for Gronk or whatever.
Yeah.
Stupid football player came in. But, like, Jericho's the same way. He's like, oh, there's a crazy spot. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll do it, So, of course, Jericho would take the swing up there. He's like, yeah, bro, it's your big spot. Do it. And he's like, I'll take it. I'm going to die from this shit or on stage, one or the other, But favorite spot, I don't know. The camera spot's up there, honestly, as simple as it was, because it was so different. But even just Claudio climbing the cage, like the feeling that brought out from the crowd, that eruption, Like that was good. Eddie throwing the tacks in Jericho's face to break up the walls.
That was great.
Fun.
That was great.
The glass pile driver was nasty. Even if it was in picture, it was still pretty nasty. I enjoyed that. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed Eddie coming in last and the Jericho Appreciation Society running at him, and he just had the kendo stick, just one hand swatting them away like they were bugs, just like, no, away with you, I'm going for Jericho, and just back and forth until he finally got to him. I really love that. I will say this for the cage, the top of it at least, it looked far more sturdy than anything WWE has ever had, because those chain link fences in the WWE cage, I'm sure they're safe, but like they give, and those guys normally stay on like the support beams. The top of this cage was sturdy, like not just, they was like floors. It was almost like the old grates on the outside of Elimination Chamber. Like it was almost like those grates, and then there was some fence on the top for the lighting, but that fence was solid. Like they were stepping on it, it wasn't going nowhere. So it was honestly, out of all the contraptions to take the swing on top of, I feel like this was one of the safer ones. And they were far enough away from the ledge where I don't, unless Claudio seriously fucked up, which I don't think I've ever seen him screw up the swing. I think.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, I think that was a lot safer than it looked. But
if I'm going to trust anyone to do this spot, it's Claudio. But I'm a gigantic baby. Not as big a baby as Daniel Garcia, but I'm a gigantic baby, and I would not have taken that spot. No, thank you. No, thank you.
All right, let's unless anybody has anything else to say about this match, let's move.
Yeah, wait, real quick. Screw you, Blake Baloney. That's all. It's from our chat.
Hi, Blake. All right, let's move to the top of the card here. We have Orange Cassidy against All Ego Ethan Page, which remarked the return of Orange Cassidy coming out to Jefferson Starship. Danny is pissed.
It's just like, it's like an A tier entrance theme, but you're going from an S tier theme song, and it's like any other context would be fantastic, but you know, I still stand by. It feels like a movie when Where's My Mind hits. And it's not because of that movie you're thinking of, because I never saw that movie.
Oh, you should.
No, I read the book. I'm not watching the movie. It's too late. But
what
was that?
I think the movie was better, but that's just personal.
I believe that. I just don't care. I put that effort into reading the book way after both came out. But
it's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But like, it feels like a movie when that song plays. And this song is just a really awesome entrance theme that would have been so cool if you didn't have Where's My Mind before. I would have no problems with this if he wasn't dropping.
I understand. I understand.
Where it's such a good song. And I've always, crowds, you suck. You suck, man. That song's way better than stupid fucking Judas. It's better than Wild Thing. I don't give a fuck.
Ooh.
That's...
As a song,
you know what? No, I think it fits Orange Cassidy better than Wild Thing fits Moxley. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Moxley's original AEW theme was really, really good. So like when he switched to Wild Thing, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Especially when they got to the version they use now, not the original version.
Yeah.
But like I was like, it makes sense. I understand why he's doing it as an homage and stuff. But I really love that theme. Like that theme, I feel like fit him a little bit better.
Moxley's original theme?
Yes.
I feel like it was really generic though.
It was generic, but it fit him really well.
It was
literally called unscripted violence.
Yeah, no, I agree with Nick. Like I love this song from Moxley. I do think that the generic music just fits like this guy who does not give a shit about anything but wrestling. Like I could hear him being like, all right, I picked that one. And it's just being the music that he comes out to.
I think Wild Thing helps sustain his pops though. Because I feel like he wouldn't always get either the biggest or like second biggest pop of the night, but because of Wild Thing he does.
All right, I just want to answer Blake real quick. Blake, I don't see him being a Dark regular. I do see him being a Ring of Honor regular, though.
Claudio,
yes, I see Claudio being a Ring of Honor regular. I see him making the occasional appearance on Dark to make whoever he's wrestling look great.
Or even just look at it now, like who did Keith Lee start a feud with when he came in? Team Taz. Who is he still fucking feuding with? Team Taz. What did Claudio come into? Oh, the Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston's friends versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. It's incomparable. And I thought Keith Lee should have been in the title picture, but Claudio's already above him, way above him on the card.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that feud ends too. This seems like the culmination of it. I don't know why to extend. Honestly, like you guys said earlier, there's a good chance it moves on towards Eddie being pissed at him, and that's the new feud, but I'm not sure I'm here for that.
I don't know. I think he still wants to get that tap out on Jericho. I think he'll just, like, the Blackpool Combat Club will move on, but Eddie won't, and he'll still go after Jericho. But to talk about the match you originally were talking about before we got into the sidetrack with the theme song and ended up back somehow talking about Blood and Guts, it was a fun match, but, like, I know you didn't go over what happened. I took a lot of notes, but, like, I didn't really like the whole, he can't scoop slam fucking Ethan Page, who's not that big. Like, obviously compared to Orange Cassidy, everyone's big. He's a really small guy, but of Ethan Page of all people to do that with, I felt kind of stupid. I didn't like that, but I like that he won a match. So.
It only worked, I feel like, because it was Orange Cassidy. Like, if it was anybody else, I don't
because he did it in 4 tries instead of 3. Like, that's also another detail that I really like, that it wasn't the, even though 3 is not numbered, 4 is even, 3 feels very neat, 3rd time's a charm, blah, blah, blah. He did it in 4. That's a nice little stupid detail, honestly, that I appreciate. But, Ethan Page is not on anyone on TV's level, so it's hard to, I feel bad because I really like Ethan Page, but, like, it's hard to.
I think right now my biggest issue with anything Ethan Page does is that he feels like he's a warm-up for Scorpio Sky, when that should just not be the case ever. And that's not a knock on Scorpio Sky. It's just now in my mind, okay, Orange Cassidy beat Ethan Page. He goes after Scorpio Sky and the TNT title now. That just feels like the natural progression. And that's just not the case. Obviously, we have Wardlow next week. And I'd be I don't want to say I'd be shocked if Wardlow loses, but I'm expecting him to win.
Yeah, I think he's gonna lose because they're doing it next week and it's a street fight.
Yeah,
too much because it doesn't feel like it's about to end. But real quick, I just want to address, some people on our chat, like James Blake, if you will. But AEW, yes, the debuts are awesome, and they do give you a high that you ride off of for a little bit. But
bye, James.
They should focus more on their. Is it because I said James Blake? I feel like that's why. But,
the tennis player.
What stories? Like, they should focus more on stories. They do. Like, that's one thing that I think is a really weak criticism of AEW is that they're all about spots or they're all about this, but they don't do stories. Like, bro, first of all, I don't know what you watch, Blake, so I'm sorry, but bro, if you're talking about WWE, what stories do they do? I can tell you because I still watch it, and there's 3 people that are good with stories. There's Becky Lynch, who's the only person who remembers that she has a character and what her character did the previous week. There's Kevin Owens, who is the only person who was right to re-sign with WWE and not leave for AEW. And then that's it. There's Roman Reigns, but that story hasn't done anything since the drunk Uso came back into the picture.
Sammy's pretty good at it. Sami Zayn's pretty good at it.
Yeah, Sammy, a guy who's technically not even in the bloodline, is the one carrying it now. Like, AEW does really good storytelling. I think people it's like a weird straw man argument that people put out there to, do that. But yeah, like I said, I don't know what you watch, Blake, so I don't know if you're going based on WWE, but I think AEW does a perfectly good job telling stories. Even in this, I didn't like the story of this match that Orange Cassidy couldn't scoop slam Ethan Page, because I don't see Ethan Page as a fucking heavyweight, but that is still a story for the match, and they do that.
And to be
I
fair,
don't think it's a strong criticism, but it's your opinion, so you can have it. You're not,
of course,
so I'm not going to shit on you because we haven't built up that rapport yet, but I almost feel like I can, but I won't.
Admittedly, Blake, you did mention WWE by mentioning other companies. You might not have said the letters, but we know who you're talking about, especially because you're considering Keith Lee and Claudio. So we put 2 and 2 together there, I think. Sometimes that comes out to 5, but we know.
I'm just using it as an example because it's just, I feel like it's a lazy criticism, man. Just criticize the women's division, which is lazy, but it's still like it's valid. Like it's still a valid criticism.
All right, James, we all know 2 + 2 = fish. Come on.
You're right.
Also,
you're right.
You know what? Just to give him one more shot of credit. Sorry, I'm derailing this like crazy, but
yep.
You know what? I will say they don't follow up with a lot of these guys, but are we just going to be cynical every time they do? Or do we want to once in a while have faith? And so far, so good with Claudio.
Yep.
With Keith Lee, I was worried from like week 3 because he was feuding with Team Taz. But here, there's a little bit more reassurance here. But yeah, if he ends up on Dark, it was nice while it lasted, right?
Considering this man wasn't even supposed to debut for AEW, he was supposed to debut in Ring of Honor. I'd say this is already a step up, Yeah.
And it's not like Lee isn't doing. He's not doing nothing. Like he's out there, wrestling most every week, or he's on TV most every week. He's still over his shit, and so is Swerve. Like, yeah, he kind of got stuck in a bit of an odd tag team and has been stuck in a feud with Team Taz. But it's not like he's just been thrown by the wayside. He's still doing things. He's still on television, and he still looks good. So, all right, I'm getting this back on track. I'll just run down this Orange Cassidy Ethan Page match really quick. Basically, the best friends are back. Chucky T is back. Thank the Lord. You haven't seen him in a while. They walked out orange and matching tie-dye jumpsuits were awesome. But then Lambert had them removed due to Michigan Gaming Commission rules and them not having valid managerial license. It was ridiculous. Anyway, this match ended when Orange hit a tilt-a-whirl DDT on Page and was setting up for the Orange Punch, but Lambert distracted him. So Orange did a couple of those light pushes just to fuck with him, pretended to deck Lambert. Lambert flinched. Orange took his orange juice, took a sip of it. Page came to, threw a wild punch at Cassidy. Cassidy hits the ropes, hits an orange punch, spits the orange juice into Lambert's face, hits another orange punch, and then hits the body slam for the win. And then best friends come out and give the people what they want, because that's all we really wanted. Let's be realistic here. Best friends are back.
I've been terrified that Chucky was released. So the fact that he was on TV made me as happy as a pig in blood and guts.
I will say I'm pretty sure I saw on Reddit, and spoilers, he is going to have a match on Dark, so he's around. I really hope the Bucks wouldn't let him get released. I know they don't have as much power anymore, but I really hope they would do their best to stick him around. You know what I mean. All right, let's move on here since we spent a lot of time doing other things. Christian Cage came out for an interview with Shivani. He said that management asked him to apologize for his comments about last week concerning Jungle Boy's family, and he apologized that all of Jungle Boy's family isn't dead, because they had a witness Christian destroy him a few weeks ago, except maybe his mom, because Christian now has a thing for Jungle Boy's mom. Then Christian said that he is not dressed in his ring gear because while he requested a match this week, it was not for him, but it was in fact for Luchasaurus, who has now aligned himself with Christian, turned heel. He came out of the heel tunnel, black scales, black gear, beat the shit out of Serpentico, because that's what everybody does. But he was a dick about it. Beat him in like under 2 minutes. And then at Christian's behest, Serpentico was chokeslammed on the outside of the ring after the match. So James, Luchasaurus is now apparently heel. This kind of sucks.
I am holding out onto hope that this is a fake out onto Christian. When Jungle Boy comes back, he's actually just going to double cross Christian, because this reeks of Kane turning into corporate Kane out of nowhere for no reason. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. And it doesn't feel genuine. This guy that I've been teaming up with for years versus the guy who blatantly just said he was using us for money. But don't worry, I'm going to partner up with him.
He was using Jungle Boy for money, okay? He didn't say anything about Luchasaurus.
Luchasaurus has the merch, man. He pushes the merch. The kids love him.
I agree. Luchasaurus is the real star of that team. Fuck.
I mean, I think we all know Marco was the real star of that team. But I digress. And this is a classic case of I got to see it play out. I want it to move forward. I'm not thrilled with this if this is just actually what's the new thing, that Luchasaurus is heel being managed by Christian. I would have rathered a turn. I would have rathered that he just turned on Jungle Boy on his own and Christian had nothing to do with it. Or at the very least, we saw that aspect of the turn coming. We knew Christian was turning on Jungle Boy. It was just a matter of when. Now I would have liked to see, I would have also liked to see maybe Luchasaurus feeling the same way as Christian. This just doesn't feel organic. It feels very out of nowhere. And I hope that I'm proven wrong. I hope that it can work out, or at the very least, it isn't legit, but not thrilled with this. Okay, and attacking Serpentico does not make you a heel. It makes you every member of the AEW roster ever.
Including his own partner.
Including his own partner.
I only have like 2-3 things to say about this, and one of them just there's nothing wrong with Corporate King. But it was a totally fine phase in a character that ran its course. But anyway, I will never boo Luchasaurus. You just can't make me the same way I didn't boo Kane when he was a monster heel. I kind of thought like his music sounded a little bit Kane-like when he was coming out. But also Christian gets great heat, so I'm on board with this. He got some great heat.
He did. I'm a little annoyed at this, mostly because it just lacks explanation. Now, they kind of set something up last week where Christian mentioned Marco and said Luchasaurus was like a son to him and stuff. And I would like some more of whatever that was, because at least that would explain why Luchasaurus has inexplicably aligned himself with Christian after everything he said last week about Jungle Boy. Like, does Christian have some dirt on him? Is he saying that he could get Marco back if Luchasaurus works for him? Like, Luchasaurus just randomly aligning himself with Christian for seemingly no reason seems weird. Now, hopefully, like you said, James, we let this play out and they do explain that, or maybe even it's just, Luchasaurus playing Christian, who knows? But whatever it is, like, just at the moment, I'm disappointed, but I'm going to wait and see what the storyline becomes, because I think AEW has earned my faith enough for me to do that.
They are known for their long-term storytelling. It is one of their strengths. So it's like you said, they've earned my trust enough that I want to see it play out a little bit. I am just admittedly skeptical.
I will say the black mask does look cool. It does. All right, let's move on from that. After that, we had a quick backstage interview with Wardlow and Scorpio Sky, where the aforementioned street fight for the TNT title was mentioned and announced. And then we had Max Caster and the Ass Boys against Danhausen and some mystery partners. Danny, straight to you. How did we like Max's rap this week?
It was like a 7.5 out of 10. Like, it was really good. He got the Flint line in, which is good. You know what? Flint's had a poison water supply for what feels like a decade now. But I saw who they voted for, and I don't feel bad for them anymore. So, you Flint. But, great. That was great. I'm glad that something developed with the Ass Boys, because I'm really sick of him ending all of his lines or his bars with fucking Ass Boys. It makes the last 2 lines a little less exciting because you just know he's gonna rhyme something with Ass Boys, and that's that.
But he flipped it this time. Instead of like it being a pop, he was like upset about them being called the Ass Boys. So I thought that was cool. Yeah. This one was a lot more targeted towards Danhausen though, so I think it limited his ability to just randomly go after.
I'm shitting on the crowd. I thought that was a really good line to say how you're going to cheer for a white dude doing white face, and like it went over the crowd's head because they're dumb from the water.
Jesus Christ.
No, man, they were the only part of that whole state that voted a certain way, and I feel a lot less bad for them.
Okay.
Fair point. Did they explain why Danhausen wasn't teaming with Hook?
Nope, and that was kind of annoying. But
no, well, it was a 6-man tag, so he would have had to get Hook and somebody else,
which is fine.
Hook could have taken the ass boys out easily.
I think he could have taken out all of them pretty easily, if I'm being honest.
But Danhausen did go and find somebody he called, and I quote, pretty good at wrestling, that being the new IWGP Tag Team Champions, the FTR.
Put some respect on them. They're the new IWGP champions.
I was gonna get
They're the Ring of Honor champions. They're the AAA champions, former AEW champions, former Raw champions, former SmackDown champions, former NXT champions. They're a 7-star team.
You done?
They're baby faces now. I am excited for them.
I know. All right. Anyway, this match ended with Danhausen going to hit his finisher, which I think is a GTS, but they call it something else, on Austin Gunn. Billy got in the ring to distract Aubrey Edwards. Bowens, who now apparently can walk, pulled a bit of a Kevin Nash, got up out of his wheelchair and went to hit Danhausen with the crutch, but Danhausen ducked it and he accidentally hit Austin. Dax pulled Bowens out of the ring. Danhausen gets the pin. FTR and Danhausen win, and after destroying Bowens' wheelchair, they walk out. Bowens goes to explain himself to Billy Colton and Austin, being like, dude, it was an accident. I didn't mean to hit you. He tries to help Austin up. Austin pushes him, and Billy shoves Austin to the ground. The two younger guns leave, and Billy stands there with the Acclaimed, seemingly consoling them. So are we now getting Billy Gunn leaving his sons for his new sons in the Acclaimed?
So I have a theory.
There was an ass daddy chant too. I would like to throw that out there.
So this, you know how we were talking about AEW being great with long-term storytelling?
No.
Fair point. So my theory is this. Billy Gunn has immense amount of guilt for his fake relationship with Chuck Palumbo back when they were Billy and Chuck in the early SmackDown days, and for leading millions of Americans, millions of people around the world into thinking they were in a gay relationship just for ratings. So now, to make amends for taking advantage of a disenfranchised group, he's actually aligning himself with 1.5 LGBTQ plus people. I don't know what Max Caster is. He might just be MJF sexual. Regardless, that's a lot of letters for an alphabet. Yes. So that's my theory. He'd rather make amends than side with his own children. And if I'm wrong, I don't know. But I don't think I'm wrong. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong yet.
I kind of think you're right. But also, I just think he's like, yeah, this is a sinking ship with these kids. I got to hop on to something better, And either way, I don't blame him. Understandable, no matter what. The ass boys are never going to do anything besides be a joke. And a good joke for now. But the Acclaimed, they should beat FTR, no problem. Squash them. Clean. The Acclaimed are the future.
What would they rap about FTR?
Oh, my God. I mean...
They faced them before. I'm sure you could find it.
Oh God, I don't know, something about how fucking Dax looks like he would march in Charlottesville. Like, I don't know. He's got the look,
Oh God.
Like that, but
you are
a guy with a mustache.
I was gonna say, go to their Twitter. They definitely wouldn't, but you are off the rails tonight, sir. I think they've been building this a long time between Billy and his sons, because you can see Billy gets frustrated with them because he thinks they're entitled. And when they lose and they just bitch about everything and not take responsibility for it, he gets annoyed with them. Whereas the Acclaimed, brought themselves up from the bottom and they bust their ass, and yeah, they lose, but like I think Billy likes the Acclaimed a lot more than he likes his sons because they're just spoiled, rotten assholes.
We all do. We all like
Who says you can't choose your family? You know?
Yeah. His sons aren't brolic enough for him, so he's moving on to 2 more brolic people.
Honestly, I thought about this the other day. Billy Gunn is looking very Rocky Balboa in Rocky Balboa.
Is that a compliment? It feels like a compliment.
Well, yeah, well, like where he gets like just absolutely yoked because in Stallone does in Rocky 6, I guess that is. It's a compliment, trust me. Stallone looks.
Billy's always been yoked, though.
Yeah.
He's always been.
But like he's a bit older now, so he looks like, you know what I mean? He looks like that.
All right, fair.
It's the steroids.
I mean, but I'm not judging why.
Allegedly.
I'm not.
Allegedly, he got caught. He did,
but that was a long time ago.
Stallone did.
That was like a couple years ago.
No, Billy got caught and fired from WWE, which made no sense. He
missed
wasn't working. He was
retired. And why would he stop taking them? He already got fired. There's no reason he would stop now.
Oh God, this really fell off the rails.
And it's okay that he's doing it. It's not a competitive sport. Who gives a fuck?
We've been off the rails a bit tonight.
Yeah, no. Anyway,
thanks, Blake.
We're moving on. Yeah, it's not Blake's fault.
Stallone, though, he got caught in Australia with steroids a long time ago. All right, yeah.
He's an actor. Who cares?
They were illegal. That's why he got in trouble. All right, last match of the night before Blood and Guts happened was Jade Cargill against Layla Glary. Shout out her from Queens for the TBS Championship. Jade won this in like under 5 minutes. She's now 34-0. It was actually kind of nice to see this not be on Rampage for once. You know, Jade actually had a match on TV on
TBS title match on TBS.
That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
So afterwards, Stokely grabbed the mic, but Jade grabbed it away from him really quick and demanded some real competition. And then Stokely called Athena and Chris Statlander out for being lazy. They immediately ran out to try to jump Jade and Kiera Hogan. Not necessarily jump, but just fight. They get in the upper hand. Athena goes to the top rope while Statlander's holding Jade. But Stokely says something to Layla Gray, and she knocks Athena off the top rope and joins the fray. And she starts beating Athena up until Jade throws her out of the way. Eventually, they clear the ring, and Gray goes to shake Stokely's hand, but Jade pushes it aside, and they leave. So, James, this was interesting. I don't know where this is leading, but at least it's something.
I feel that the writing's been on the wall for a while that they want to turn Jade face. You know, she's naturally getting over with the crowd. She's getting better in the ring. And I understand the desire to strike while the iron's hot. I like Jade a lot now. I've really grown to like Jade. And I would like to cheer for her and feel like I'm supposed to be cheering for her. That said, I am worried about taking away her mouthpieces because I think she's gotten a lot better on the mic, but I do think she still needs that support. I don't know how well she could carry a promo entirely on her own, and I don't know how many backstage segments she could really carry on her own either. So whether it be the baddies, whether it be Stokely, whether it be, I mean, Mark Sterling is just a heel, you know, like he shouldn't ever turn face.
Lawyers are heels inherently, so
like, that is incredibly true. But I'm all for the babyface turn. I just really hope they know what parts to keep. And I don't know why you would turn her face against Athena and Statlander. That in itself is kind of weird too.
Why do you think? I don't think they're turning her face right now. Why do you think that? Because she cut off Stokely for like she always did with Sterling?
Well, it's more about, I don't think she liked the fact that he had her get help.
But that's what she's been like, it's the same thing over and over again with her. She has a squash match and then she gets mad at whoever her mouthpiece is that week for not giving her enough competition. This just felt like another.
I guess
I don't think that's why would you add another? I just think it's just the way they present it.
Well, I mean, I also think Thunder is due for a heel turn at some point too.
Yeah.
So I think that's also probably why I have it in my head that Jade is probably going to turn face.
But this didn't really feel like it was positioned for a face turn for Jade. It just felt like almost like they wanted to break her away from Stokely, which is weird because they just brought him in. But it was more like she was upset that he was doing things without her permission. You know what I mean? Like he told this random girl to help when, you know, he didn't, obviously it was in the moment, he couldn't run it by Jade, but Jade doesn't want that help. So she's like, the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't need this person. I don't want this person. I haven't approved of her. So,
but then in what scenario? So let's say I hear what you're saying, and I get that. But if she splits away from Stokely,
how is she still heel?
Yeah, how is she still heel? Like,
no, I agree with that.
Baddies.
What?
She sells the baddies.
I don't think people want to boo them. If I'm being honest, for different reasons, I don't think people want to boo the baddies.
Why?
I think it's a fun gimmick, you know. I think people like seeing them in the crowd. I think people like the idea of them. People have been pushing for Sunny Kiss to be a baddie for a long time.
I think people would like to be baddies.
I think you're magnifying a small portion of the audience right now,
and that's fair. Maybe that is true, but I do feel that they recognize Jade's charisma and the fact that the crowd does cheer for her. And I don't think it's a small section of the crowd that is cheering for her. I do think there are a lot of people that have gotten on the Jade train, and I don't know. I would not be surprised if within the next 6 months she's a babyface. That's what I'm saying.
That's a decent timeline.
Yeah, sure. I think her career is gonna become really stagnant real fast if she turns face. But yeah.
But I don't think she necessarily needs to change anything.
She has to lose the title first
before
she turns.
I kind of feel like we're going to get a Brock Lesnar getting betrayed by Paul Heyman and losing the belt to Big Show thing here. Brock was undefeated and he was champion, got betrayed by the manager to somebody that the manager didn't want them to face because they were afraid they would lose. The champion had a lot of hubris, and then the manager ends up screwing them. I think we're going to get that with Jade.
Really well if she still had Mark Sterling, but now that we have this stooge guy, whatever his name is, been there for 2 weeks.
Why do you hate Stokely? I have to ask.
Well, it's okay. It is 95% because he's not Mark Sterling.
But doesn't she still have Sterling on retainer too?
I don't know. It kind of seemed like Stokely replaced
he got
him
kicked to the curb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because he's doing literally what Sterling was doing and being like giving her 2 week of competition. It's the same exact thing. It's just he is a fill-in now. Like he might as well be a WWE backstage interviewer. Like he is a blank face now, filling the same exact slot. Also, I don't know. He's an NXT 2.0 guy, so that makes him kind of lame inherently.
All right, to be fair, he was an NXT regular guy. It's just they didn't use him at all, ever.
So,
and he was one of the better parts of 2.0 with Diamond Mine. So, I think with Sterling, it just kind of felt like she outgrew him, and that's why he was replaced with Stokely. Now, she is apparently in the storyline very rapidly outgrowing Stokely. I mean, dude's been there like 6 weeks?
Seriously? Yeah, I don't even know if it's been 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think maybe he showed up at the pay-per-view. Like it's going fast. So I don't know where it's leading. Like you said, James, maybe within the next 6 months she's a face, but it's got to be after this Statlander and Athena feud, because I don't think they're going to flip either of them heel right now to join Stokely if that's your plan. The only person I can see them doing that is maybe Athena and letting her have Stokely because he could talk for her, but not for her. But like,
I think Athena's gotten pretty decent on the mic too.
Yeah, she was better. Like I think we talked about the other week. Her and Statlander had a great backstage thing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if she does, I think it like almost like what James said. I think it would be like a double turn with like Thunder or something. Like it's not going to be against Statlander, Athena that she would turn face.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody different. Just the only last thing on the show was the Young Bucks had a promo before Blood and Guts where they mentioned they had no friends left except their titles. And then they announced that they're going to face Yoshihashi and Goto on Rampage, and if those guys win, they get a shot at the AEW championships, tag team championships.
Fun promo.
Yeah.
Also,
Obviously,
who was man in the camera? Fred, right?
Yep, Fred. Brandon's not there. I don't know where Brandon's been. He's obviously still at any BTE. Shouts to him on Monday. But
a quick aside, very not important, but all squirrels are named Fred to me and my family. If you see a squirrel, that's a Fred. All of them. Doesn't matter. Male, female, whatever. It's a Fred.
I am fascinated, but I feel like this is an after pod conversation.
Yeah, it's after pod.
That also oddly works. But
yeah,
I also just with the Bucks here, James. I think that long pause. Hangman.
I want Kenny.
Well,
I don't care.
But he's not there.
Everyone that Hangman is friends with gets fired. First it was Stu. now it's 5. I keep him away from people. Keep him away. I want Kenny.
Well, we'll see when Kenny comes back. But Hangman's the only guy there that they might consider their friends. So, and there was a little bit of a tease of it at Forbidden Door. So we'll see. Maybe we're getting a reunion here, especially with all the injuries to the Undisputed Elite.
Paying attention to Adam Cole's broken body. Couldn't pay attention to that.
So if you did miss it, just to really quickly wrap things up here, Matt and Nick went to go walk towards Hangman in the other corner, and Kyle grabbed them and brought them back over.
It felt very much like Brick wandering towards Ron Burgundy and Paul Rudd's character, what was it, Brian Fantana, just like pulling him back in. Felt very much like that. And if you don't identify with that, you're in a different age bracket than me, and I'm sorry.
All right. Well, on that note, that was Blood and Guts, the show. It was, like we said, it was really good. Even the first hour was pretty solid, but that last hour truly kicked ass. So thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We have to do all the things now. When we get to 100 subscribers, James will wrap and dye his hair green, and it'll be great. Be sure to follow us on all our social media stuff. I will do my best to get it in the description below when YouTube lets me. Till then, you can please feel free to go check out some of our other videos, and you can follow the links from there. I think that's it. So for Dana Hernandez and James Santi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Mark It Down podcast, and we will catch you here next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, and watch the